Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Entertainment Annotated here from Entertainment Media. I'm joined today by Jackson from Full Circle. I'll let Jackson say a few things about himself.
Yeah, thanks for having me back, Josh. I'm very excited to be here and talk some superhero movies and some other good news today.
Yeah, I mean, it's, the Super Bowl happened this past weekend as of when we're recording, and man, what a great weekend for the film and TV industry, honestly, from a consumer standpoint, with all the trailers and the I guess, reveals in terms of little hints here and there about what's upcoming if you're like, a Warner Brothers fan of the DC stuff, or the trailers that came out for properties like Doctor Strange and Moon Knight, or if just in general you're a fan of the business side of things, because I believe Paramount, just they are rebranding and all that. I mean, it's kind of a crazy weekend. But I guess before we get into all of that, Jackson, how was your Super Bowl weekend? I mean,
it's always a little bittersweet when the now Commanders are not, playing every year, and I have to deal with that fact. But working in this space and in the entertainment media space, I mean, this is as much your Super Bowl in terms of football as it is for entertainment, right? I mean, these trailers, these
Very
movies,
true.
It's twofold, really. The commercials, it's the whole experience. So, I mean, I'm always down for football. I'm a massive fan of football. I was very excited, great game. But you can't help when all these trailers are going on and these massive implications of Marvel movies and Star Wars and whatever it may be. Although we didn't get an Obi-Wan trailer, unfortunately, but it's a monumental event, and I look forward to it every year.
Yeah, I'll never forget one Super Bowl. I think it was the one where it was like, was it Maroon 5 or something? Anyways, Travis Scott, had like the SpongeBob animation. I think it was that year, but I'll never forget it because that was the year I was doing a bunch of breakdowns on all the trailers. And we already kind of had an idea, of like what trailers would be at the Super Bowl. But I basically, like, the entire halftime show and some of the third quarter even, I was like still making like the quickest trailer breakdowns I possibly could, which in hindsight, I don't know how I did that. I guess I was just in such a flow that I was able to just, crank these things out. But, I mean, it's crazy. But I guess, besides Super Bowl, since this isn't a sports podcast, even though, don't tempt me.
Same here.
Yeah. Have you watched any movies lately? Any new TV shows or current TV shows you're wrapping up?
I checked out, two things. I checked out The Fallout on HBO Max.
Is that good?
Starring Jenny Ortega. It's actually pretty well done. In terms, the teenage life is very hard to get right on in movies and TV. It can either be too cliche or a little or over the top or like kind of toned down way. I think they hit the nail on the head with the kind of how children would deal in a situation of like a school shooting, things like that, which are very serious topics. But I think it did a very good job of trying to like humanize the people who are involved and not make them out to be these massive figureheads and like they're just kids. And I thought that was really well done. A shorter runtime, which I thought was good. It got straight to the point. It had a very heavy ending too, which I thought was powerful. And then from that, I've started Attack on Titan, which is my first anime I've ever watched.
Oh man.
Yeah, I've never really gotten into it. Kind of as a kid, I watched some Naruto and some Dragon Ball, but nothing really serious. But I've jumped into Attack on Titan. I've kind of gotten sucked up a little bit. So much so I had to go out and buy some manga because the show hasn't finished and I needed to know how it ended.
Yeah, I mean, so I got into Attack on Titan also, like a while back because I just seen people commenting about it so often. And it was one of those things where, I used to read the manga for like Dragon Ball and Naruto and, I was a casual, like by a lot of means in terms of like, it was pretty much just those two. Like I followed them from beginning to end though. So it wasn't like I was, and I watched the animes, which, in the case of Naruto, felt like forever. The anime was so long, so much filler, especially with Dragon Ball. But I really didn't get into anything after that. I tried One Piece, it just never grabbed me. And there was I know tons of other ones, whether it was on Netflix or just other streamers one time or another. And I never really got into it like that. I had an old roommate who was really into it, but it never rubbed off on me. But one day, I'd seen the Attack on Titan, like a fan-made live-action trailer, I think years ago. And it was kind of cool. And it was always in the back of my mind, like, man, this stuff is like that's an interesting premise. Like, I want to know more. Like, what are these Titans? And because I think there was a theory that Hollywood was trying to make, or not a theory, but a report that Hollywood was trying to develop something.
Well, Andy Muschietti had signed on from the It franchise. Had signed on for a live-action adaptation that's kind of gone nowhere.
Yeah, so I think that probably was the report, and it finally made me go, let me check this out, right? And I read some of the manga, and I caught up on where the anime was, and I actually really dig it because not hilariously, but I was taking a Norse mythology class like back in college, and for a semester, like Norse mythology culture and mythology and all that stuff. And there's so much of that in Attack on Titan, like with Ymir and all that stuff. I wasn't expecting that. And it was like the coolest thing to me how they kind of have like a pseudo, world tree thing going on. I mean, I don't want to, say spoilers, so I'm not going to say anymore. But all that to say, I think it's actually a really cool premise and a really cool, just in general, like concept. Like, I would love to see an adaptation of it because I think it's one of those things where it's just kind of cool. And I love the story of the protagonist because of the arc he has from, like, again, I can't really say too much in detail without spoiling it, but it's a very unique character arc that I feel is one of the few in like anime and manga that actually goes from beginning to end. Everything else just kind of feels like it's stagnant. Like Goku's really stagnant. Vegeta's pretty stagnant. Naruto even is pretty stagnant. It's just like power scaling. That's all they do now. But I felt like Attack on Titan actually had a really interesting narrative component to it. So yeah, I mean, that's a great one to get into, I guess. But anything besides that, I can't comment. And I want to check out that HBO. Is it a movie or a show?
It's a movie. It runs about an hour and a half. Pretty good.
Okay. Yeah, because I started this past week the marriage one. Something scenes, I think, from a marriage.
Oh, with Oscar Isaac and Jessica Chastain.
Yeah, I started that. I'm on episode 2. I really liked it. Just like a change of pace kind of TV show. And I also watched before the Super Bowl, just to kill time. I watched the Tomorrow War with Chris Pratt on Amazon Prime Video. I never got to watching it. I started it and I didn't continue it. And I finally just rewatched it from the beginning and just went straight through. And I thought the aliens were pretty cool. I just think I told you this before. I keep between this movie and A Quiet Place, like the aliens that they're now like doing in a lot of these movies like this, I can't help but feel like they're basically like the directors, the writers ask themselves, man, if I could do a xenomorph without doing a xenomorph, what would I do? Because the whole like alien ship thing, when they got to that, and it gave me very Prometheus kind of vibes, I would say. Actually, straight up, I thought they stole that from Prometheus. And then even with like A Quiet Place 2, like when they kind of, or not A Quiet Place 2, but I think one of the writers for A Quiet Place at one point threw around the idea that potentially they were, created basically as a bioweapon to, clear out planets. And I was like, well, that's kind of like xenomorphy, the way they kind of like presented it, even though obviously that's not a totally original concept, clearing out within, one alien race, whatever. But yeah, that's what I was kind of been watching. And I guess it kind of leads into our first topic, right? So now I guess really quickly to touch upon it, since it's pretty big news in the industry. ViacomCBS is rebranding to Paramount Global. Not just Paramount, but Paramount Global, which is unnecessary since their logo is just literally the Paramount logo and it says Paramount, so they might as well just call themselves Paramount, but it's whatever. Now, in a statement, they said an iconic global company deserves an iconic global name, one that reflects the power of our content, one that reflects our role as stewards of a rich heritage, and as leaders in the future of entertainment. Said literally only them, since no one else thinks Paramount is the leader in the future of entertainment. But, PR, I guess. Now, this has some pretty big effects for those in the stock market because their company shares will now be traded as PARAA, PAR, and PARAP for those that do Class A common stock, Class B common, and preferred stock. And that is as of February 17th for those, that have gotten into the stock markets and crypto and all that stuff. Since the pandemic, which seems to be a lot of people based on how many crypto ads I saw during the Super Bowl, and also like the Robinhood and all the other getting into the stock market kind of startup ads or apps. Sorry, but getting into that, we could touch on it. Probably not as long as the other stuff, but just because it's relevant. As a part of this news, Paramount also decided that they're just going to blow their wad of content announcements. And we got a new Star Trek film, supposedly in development, poised to maybe start later this year for development, but they're in talks with the same cast of the last few Star Trek movies. So Chris Pine, Zoe Saldana, Zachary Quinto, and I'm assuming J.J. Abrams would come back in some capacity, whether it's producing or directing. But it's really interesting because I know last time they were developing a next Star Trek movie, the big rumor, right, was it was going to be a kind of time travel potential reboot, backdoor pilot for a potential another Star Trek, future film series. And they were going to have Chris Hemsworth reappear as Kirk's dad, like he did in the first new, timeline Star Trek movie. They were going to have him working together with Chris Pine Kirk, and I guess by the end of it, they make a new timeline. That's what I'm presuming it was with all the timeline stuff going on. But is that right? Am I
right? It was to reset, but it was supposed to be kind of a finality kind of thing, like to reset the Kelvin timeline, which was created at the beginning of the first one with what Kirk's dad did on the Kelvin. So yeah, it was supposed to be time travel based, and Hemsworth was supposed to return and join the crew and kind of re-put together what it deviated from. So the crew would kind of become what they did in the original series, which is where it deviated, which is why it was like a multiverse, other alternate reality kind of thing.
Yeah, and then the other movie updates besides that, Quiet Place 3 is happening. Will come out in 2025, which is exciting. I think, the only thing that sucks about this is that John Krasinski is dead and the film's timeline, and they can always do more and more flashbacks to show him. But I wonder if he knew back then when he made the first one that they would make a second and a third. I wonder if he would have killed himself off, because it kind of sucks.
He's clearly been focusing behind the camera stuff. I will say that Cillian Murphy was a great addition to the cast, filling that pseudo, mentor father role in part 2. So I do think that at least if he had to go out, he filled it with a pretty good guy to fill it with.
I mean, I agree with you. I think the casting. I think the whole series thus far has been really solid. I mean, I think it's been a series that has flourished, kind of what we talked about earlier, right? With the Moon Knight stuff. It's the kind of thing where it has all the makings for a big franchise, but it's still kind of small enough still that I'm sure there's a lot of creative freedom. So they don't have to, the writers can really make a solid film. I mean, the last one I think speaks for itself. It did pretty well considering the pandemic was still definitely going on. And it was one of the few films, unfortunately, kind of, you know, sent to the slaughter, so to speak.
It was like 2 weeks out. It was 2 weeks out when like everything went down.
Yeah, like everyone knew it wasn't going to do well in box office. Everyone knew any movie that was going to come out during that time was going to be basically sacrificed for the greater good of testing if the market was ready or not for theatrical releases. And even still, you know, the movie made like, I think almost 280 mil worldwide, which isn't great by normal standards, but given what
on that budget
was going on,
and then
yeah, exactly, like based on the budget, and you know, like that was pretty respectable considering like that was number one, I think, for a few weeks during the whole pandemic box office stuff. And Rotten Tomatoes got 91%. Just to run through the rest of this news really quick, Paramount Plus is going to be adopting a model similar, I guess, to what Disney Plus does currently, where after a lot of the Disney movies come out, they basically go straight to Disney Plus. So Paramount's going to do that. No one knows exactly what the theatrical release window will be before it goes on Paramount Plus in this case, but the prediction is probably anywhere between 45 to 60 days. After that, you know, after 45 to 60 days past the end of the theatrical release, the movie will come out on, in this case, Paramount Plus. Halo was renewed for season 2 without season 1 even being out yet, which hopefully means good things. But with a franchise like Halo, unfortunately, it could go really, really well, or easily it could be kind of taken off the rails, unfortunately, since I know a lot of people were underwhelmed by the trailer that came out, unfortunately. And then last but not least, you know, I'm actually really excited for this. So, you know, no shame talking about it here, but Sonic the Hedgehog, we're getting a third one.
Yeah.
And we're getting a Knuckles spinoff on Paramount Plus. I'm pretty excited for this because from what I could tell, there was a lot of reverence with these films. And I don't know what more you could ask for. Like, people are like, oh, well, you know, X movie like Uncharted break the video game curse. I'm saying look at Sonic. Look at the Detective Pikachu. Those broke the video game curse in my eyes, you know? Like, they have entirely original stories, and they simply just like show reverence to the source material. They're not trying to, you know, do anything like Assassin's Creed did, which was utter garbage. But what do you think? I mean, are you a big Sonic fan, or?
I love the games. Played a ton of the games as a kid. I have a certain nostalgic feeling for Shadow, and I hope he finds his way into the franchise here soon.
Oh my God, he's definitely gonna be in it.
I hope he's the post-credit scene of 2 and is part of 3, because I mean that's a character that you can't go without using. I'm glad they're waiting though. You don't want to do everything in one moment, and I respect them for that, for the forethought. I mean, yeah, it's fun, man. It doesn't take itself too seriously. You know, it knows what it is, and it leans into that, and I think that's great, and that's what video games should be. Video games are ridiculous, just like superheroes are ridiculous, but they need to lean into that aspect to make it more fun and feel more real to people. Don't try to be something you're not. I think the Sonic crew has definitely got that down pat.
100%. I mean, I think it's been all uphill since they listened to the audience response about the incredibly disgusting design that they originally were going to go with. I don't know what focus groups they were putting that in where they felt comfortable releasing that, but good Lord. Yeah, unlike the Washington Commanders, Paramount Pictures and Sega actually listened to their fan base and made corrections and all that, and they were rewarded for it, you know? Like, I don't know if the movie would have been absolutely roasted if they still went with the original design, because I'm assuming the rest of the story was all the same, but I'm sure it definitely helped having that kind of goodwill going into it, knowing that, hey, you know, I could probably trust that the creators of this movie really did go into it with good intentions, you know, not just to milk another IP. But I'm really excited for this because, you know, it's such a great franchise to, you know, just have a fun movie, you know? Like, I'm not going to go into this and expect, you know, an Oscar. Like, this isn't Tick, Tick, Boom, you know? Like, I'm not expecting Oscar bait. I'm just expecting a nice, fun movie like with Tomorrow War. You know, you just kick on before the Super Bowl, wait some time, and not feel when it's over that you utterly wasted your time watching like hot trash. So this is pretty cool. And to go back to our like anime manga conversation earlier, I definitely think they have to do Shadow, because if Sonic is Goku and Tails is Krillin, Knuckles is Piccolo, Shadow is Vegeta, 100%.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That dark foil. And I think, he's a very complicated character, a lot of deep layers. His solo video game was one of my favorites when I was a kid. I mean, I remember cool. the trailer that came out for that was incredible. I remember I watched it on loop back when YouTube was in its infancy. But, those were great times. I think a character like that, I like Sonic, right? But the character like that gets me, like someone who was a kid at that point, like sucked in a way that like, oh, I need, like, this is like appointment viewing now. Like, this is one of those things I need to get to as soon as I possibly can.
Exactly. And just to, read off of it, the Sonic the Hedgehog movie number 2, the sequel, is coming out. Hold on. When does this come out?
Is it April or is it later than that?
I had it. I think it's April. No, it's March, isn't it?
March. Wow. Okay.
I think it's March. My cat's coming in. My cat's telling me to wrap this up. I think
April 8th. April 8th.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Wow, I was wrong. Yeah, April 8th, 2022. The like we said in the beginning, Sonic the Hedgehog 3, I'm presuming will come out like 2025, 2026, maybe.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
But there's no official date listed on here. But just because the first one came out 2020, second one 2022, I'm guessing the next one,
I would think 2020, early 2025 would probably be a safe
2025.
Bet. Late 24, like early 25 would probably be, around what we're looking at here.
That's probably best. Sorry about my cat. My cat's being really annoying. But anyways, that's it for this episode. Thanks for checking it out, everyone. Give us a like, a subscribe. If you're listening to this on it will be on Spotify and it'll be on YouTube, the clips. So if you're listening to it on Spotify, give us a 5-star rating, share it, like it. And we have a newsletter also. So definitely check out the newsletter. It's a curated newsletter. So basically for all the news we talked about or other news in film and TV entertainment, we cover all that in the newsletter. So instead of you having to go to, let's say, 10 different websites to read one article of interest each, you just go to our newsletter and we'll give you all of that in that singular newsletter. So kind of think of it as, instead of buying 10 albums to listen to one song each that you really like from each one of those albums, we're kind of like your playlist you go to that already has all the songs there that you like. So, we don't have any fluff. We don't have any clickbait. We're just giving you guys the news that's important. So go check that out. If you're interested, go subscribe to the newsletter. It's free. But with all that said and done, thanks for listening. Jackson, I'll let you tell people where they could find you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. You can follow me on Twitter at JacksonHayes67.
Sweet. So, Jackson, thanks again for being on. And
Absolutely.
with all that said and done, have a good day, everybody, and we'll see you later.